my little mantra is, you can't save the world. We know that. But if you take care of the life in front of you as best you can, what a different world we would have. If we don't do that, there's something seriously wrong with us.
This is Hungry Dogs with James Patterson. My guest today is author Patricia Cornwell, creator of the iconic Kay Scarpetta series. I love Patricia. She's a good friend. I love that series. I've been reading it since the start. We're going to talk about her new book, Sharp Force, how a tough childhood led her to writing, and why she thinks all authors are still telling fairy tales. She's a strange lady, but a wonderful lady. She also opens up about loss, love, and why she still flies helicopters just to clear her head. And now, Patricia Cornwell, you're going to love this.
You mentioned it taking a while with Scarpetta. What's the history? How have you felt about Hollywood along the way?
I don't know what happened with why it took Scarpetta series so long, but it seems to me it always failed in the writing stage. People would write a script trying to either adapt like Postmortem, for example, and it was always for movies, for film. I mean, this is the first venture into television or attempt. Before that, it was always attempting film. But the scripts, they never reflected the world that Scarpetta inhabited. They did not reflect who she is. And so after a while, the option would just expire and we'll move on to another studio. But this has gone on. Literally, the first option I had for the Scarpetta series was 1989. And here it will be 2020. Yeah. Or finally.
So people will really get to know Scarpetta, which is, I'm excited about watching it.
Well, I'm excited about you watching it, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it, because you've been.
I'll call you. I'll give you a ring.
Well, you should, because you've been through this. I don't even know how many times now. How many movies and TV things have you had?
Not as many as I'd like, but yeah, some. We have a whole lot of them now that are. I mean, who knows? We have Stephen Knight, Peaky Blinders is doing the thing. One of the books I did with President Clinton. And we'll see. It's all. It's nothing until they start shooting. Even actually, one of them they started shooting and then COVID hit, and so they had 5 days and then they never came back. And after COVID, they couldn't get the actors again. So it's always a challenge out there.
You've done something that I've never done that I must admit I'm really jealous about. Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah, I do, of course.
That you got to hang out with Dolly Parton.
Oh yeah. No, the nice thing for me about most of the those collaborations that I've done, Dolly's a good friend. Yeah, well, I've told this story before, but when we were putting together the first book or the novel, my birthday came up and she called on the phone. And she sang happy birthday. And I wanted to say, Dolly, I want you to call again and you're going to get voicemail. And then I want you to sing in the end. I didn't have the nerve to do it. But we really, and maintain a friendship, which is really nice. And similarly with President Clinton and Hillary, also a nice friendship. And that ultimately is better. I enjoy that more. And it's more important to me than the books ever were. I have a book coming, a novel coming with Viola Davis next year, which I think is the best novel I've ever done. I mean, it's more of a straight novel, but very dramatic. And so that's a nice relationship now with Viola. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, I don't know how you would collaborate with anybody if you don't have a good harmonious relationship. I would think that would be. Because, writers, it's such a private thing that we do. Yeah. You're the pioneer for these collaborations, as best I know. I mean, I don't think anybody was ever really doing this.
Well, they're doing them now.
Well,
that's fine. That's all good. Yeah, we sort of opened up that thing. I've never had a problem. Interviewers are always like, well, weren't there a lot of fights and No, I've never had a fight or an argument at all. And I've even did one with my wife, Sue. We didn't fight either. Actually, two. We've done two now. Going in a whole nother direction, which I always like in these things, and we talked about the books and stuff, and we can come back to that. But my with my dad, the first hug I ever remember getting from him as an adult was on his deathbed. And you talked about a bit, and you can get as much or as little as you want to get into this, about emotional involvement, abuse, your own relationship with your father. I think you had a deathbed experience. I mean, you can get into it or not. Well, we can move through these things if, depending on whether you want to talk about stuff or not.
I'm happy to talk about anything you want to talk about.
Okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit. That kind of
Well,
emotional thing, relationship with your father. You don't have to get too much into it, but I mean, I know you talked about that being a sort of a difficult memory.
well, I think that everything at least for me, that went on in my childhood has propelled me into this world of spending so much time alone coming up with stories. Because when I was a little kid, my parents had a very strained and horribly dysfunctional relationship. This was when I was born in Miami, and this was down there. And so at a very early age, I was into the crayons and writing stories and drawing pictures, and that was how I transported myself away from all that. It was also what I did to keep me company.
Mhm, mhm,
You
mhm.
I could make up imaginary friend,
Yep,
and
yep, yep, mhm.
so I think
I used to
and
roam through the woods in upstate New York telling myself stories.
yes, and I bet you would tell the neighborhood kids stories too, because I know
There
I did.
weren't kids around. I mean, that was once again, in terms of kind of being alone, there weren't kids. It was really pretty isolated.
Well, I think that solitude and loneliness, um, and sometimes discomfort can be the best fuel for making you wanna go through that looking glass and write about a world that's not literally not right in front of you. And so I was doing that from my earliest age, and and so much so that when I was 19, I started writing the story of my childhood. I basically started writing a memoir when I was 19 years old. Can you imagine that? And I worked on it all through college, and, believe it or not, it's part of the basis for my memoir that's coming out in the spring. I actually went ahead,
Uh-huh. What
dragged out that old manuscript
uh-huh,
after not looking at it for half a century, but
uh-huh.
my point is, as
What's the title?
yeah, they're not
Don't know
releasing
yet. Okay,
about
uh-huh.
that yet. They haven't really done the cover yet, but
Okay.
the point is that, um, when I get reminded of these early experiences, this is the stuff of our own fairy tales, and I've decided that as adult authors, we're basically just telling fairy tales all over again, but in a very different way because 'cause we're not 8 years old anymore. And in a way, a Sharp Force, it harkens back to my childhood of loving Halloween and ghosts and wanting to do something spooky like that 9-year-old kid would do, but you gotta tell it as the adult Patricia Cornwell will tell it, and it can't be nonsense. So
Mhm,
that
mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We both actually have a connection to McLean Hospital where I kind of, all through college, I worked as a psych aide, and then you have a connection to McLean's at all. It's similarly, I mean, not similarly, it's nothing. And I think, psychology and it's been a part of the big part of the Scarpetta series as well. And I know along the way you were, misdiagnosed with certain, whatever, which happens with people. And I think it fits certainly in terms of Scarpetta and Lucy. And just talk about that area a little bit. Just um,
well, in Sharp Force,
yeah.
that you one of the in one of these attacks of by the Phantom Slasher, I mean, it opens with like the fourth in a series of this that are happening on holidays, and in this case, it happens on the grounds of a spooky old psychiatric hospital on Mercy Island, which is a made up place, by the way, off the coast of Virginia in the Washington area. Anyway, one of the victims is a woman psychiatrist, and she's living in a condo on the grounds of the hospital, and there's another person staying in the house, and that person is very badly injured, but it turns out this psychiatrist is somebody from Scarpetta's past, because when her niece Lucy was at the University of Virginia, she was talking to this psychiatrist because she was going through a hard time. She was a freshman, she was having adjustment difficulties, and she, was having a lot of hostility towards her Aunt Kay, who was involved, with Benton Wesley, and on and on and on. So now here we have this person is dead and horribly murdered. And what this reopens is what went on way back then. Seeing this person, and this person was crossing the boundaries in a clinical way. And my mother, I grew up with dealing with, a mother who was, twice hospitalized in a psychiatric hospital. And I've dealt with a lot of this, and I've certainly had my issues in life of dealing with moods and, having a DUI long ago and far away, and wondering why I would do anything so stupid just when my career was doing so well.
Yeah.
So, but I think, as you well know, setting is a character. And so the backdrop of someplace
Yeah.
asylum in the 1700s with a spooky history of people buried there and what really happened to them. Another character is the time of year, and in this case, Christmas, because I think the Christmas season is another very evocative
Yeah.
character.
It can be very happy or also very spooky.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I might not have a dog myself right at this very moment, but I know dogs. I've owned many, many, many dogs. At one point, I had 12 Dobermans. You do anything to keep them healthy and happy, right? That's what I love about Ollie, Ollie. It's made for people who care about their dogs the way I did, the way I still do. They offer fresh protein-packed meals made with real human-grade ingredients, all slow cooked for top nutrition. It's a kind of food you actually feel good about feeding your dog. What's great is how tailored it all is. Ollie builds a custom meal plan around your dog's needs, so every meal is perfectly portioned and easy to serve. It even comes with a scoop and a pup tainer to keep your fridge from smelling like dog food. We don't want that. And the Ollie app is awesome. It really is. You can check in with real experts about your dog's health. You can track meals and see what new recipes they're developing. It's like having a nutritionist for your pup right in your pocket. If old Bumper was still around, one of my old dogs, I know he'd be going crazy at mealtime, and I'd feel great knowing I was giving him the best. Your dog's well-being starts with their food, and that's why Ollie delivers fresh, human-grade food that your dog will love. Head to ollie.com/Patterson. Tell them all about your dog and use code Patterson to get 60%, that's a lot, off your welcome kit when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a happiness guarantee on the first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. It's not going to happen. You'll get your money back, but you will be satisfied. That's OLLIE.com/Patterson and enter code Patterson to get 60% off your first box. Help me out by liking and subscribing to Hungry Dogs. You can help a lot, so help, especially if you like the interviews. Your friends will if you like the interviews, your friends will like the interviews, right? Do you have any friends? I don't know. Also, drop me a comment with any ideas you have to make the Hungry Dog interviews better. I'm hungry to hear what you think. Thank you. Another sort of sideliney kind of thing, which I like when we talk about these things. My agent, lawyer, best friend for 20 years past, Bob Barnett, and he used to, I would talk to him 10 times a week, and maybe once about business and the rest about his grandkids and whatever, all this stuff. And if he couldn't get a hold of me, he would always say, and when he would get me, he would say, I get nervous when I can't find you, and now I can't find Bob. So I'm kind of dealing with that the last couple of weeks. How do you deal with that kind of loss? Just thoughts or a thought or anything that,
Well, that's an interesting question that you ask. And one of the things that's very strange is that when I first started doing research in the medical examiner's office and then ended up becoming a full-time employee because I couldn't get published for 6 years, I was down in the morgue every day. And very early on, after I kept seeing, one body after the next, and then you would see their driver's license photo or something else where you get reminded of who they were in real life, and then suddenly they're gone. And I began to realize that I thought, the body is like a light bulb that burns out. And whatever caused it to light up is not there anymore. And that body on the table is not the same thing as that conscious person. And so that I believe that who we are is separate from this body that we're walking around in and that's talking to each other right now. But the thoughts behind what we're saying, I believe, are separate from our flesh and blood. And so I believe that people transition somewhere, that the spirit does. And that gives me some kind of comfort when somebody goes. I've lost my father's gone, my mother died a couple of years ago, and other people that that I've really cared about. My former husband Charlie just died a year ago. And what I've also learned is if you're open to them maybe letting you know they're around, you'd be surprised some of the things where they find ways that it sounds weird to repeat it, but they
Mhm.
find ways
Mhm.
to let you know
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
how.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that in different experiences, and it's hard to like, yeah, okay, that sounds very real and certainly meaningful to those people. Um, Another sort of sideways, which I like, is a certain point where you want to kind of give back or give away or whatever the heck it is, and you've donated to the Republicans and the Democrats. How does that? I don't want to get political about it, but just in general, different candidates, is it, or somebody?
Well, over the years, it's really been about people I know or that I have a good feeling about because I'm friendly or it's been more about the people than
Uh-huh.
the party.
Yeah,
And
which I think makes a lot of
but
sense.
the truth is, most of my giving is not about political anything.
Sure.
It's things like animal rescue, helping kids through college. That's a big one because the expense of that is just not even thinkable for most people these days, as we all know. It could be anything that things that my little mantra is you can't save the world. We know that. But if you take care of the life in front of you as best you can, if you're the one that happens upon a stray animal and you can do something to try to rescue it and on we could talk about it, or your neighbor has a need that you yourself could take care of and you don't have to get any credit for it, but you just do it. If everybody would act that way, what a different world we would have.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be nice if we could get back a little of that kind of sense. Sue and I, one of the things that and this has gotten heavier and heavier in terms of, but historically black universities and colleges, because they don't have any money. So it's very hard for them to give scholarships out, which means that the kids there are going to walk away with a lot of debt or they can't even go in the first place because they can't afford any tuition. And one of it's just sort of the information that got me even more interested is 60% of the black doctors in this country come out of the historically black universities and colleges, which is really huge if you think about it. And it also says a lot about all these schools that claim to be doing all these things. But so where are how can 60% of the black doctors come from this very small group of colleges,
Mhm.
So I really like that in terms of ways to sort of give back or to help and anything that we'll do. I mean, we don't want our names on anything, and it's always sort of as direct as we can be in terms of helping people. I know you have some of the kind of inventive things like Scarpetta House in Baltimore. I don't know if people know about that, which is kind of cool. training
Oh,
investigate. Yeah.
that's so funny that you know about that. I mean, I haven't even thought about that in a while, but yes, the Scarpetta House in Baltimore. And I'll tell you another thing that I donated money to that people don't know about, is there is a animal preserve called White Oak, or I believe that's still the name of it, down in Florida, where they have things like tigers and all kinds of endangered, exotic wildlife that they are trying to rehabilitate and doing research on it, whatever. And so many, many years ago, I made a very sizable donation to them, and they used it it's basically a laboratory that they built so that if these poor creatures die, they can do necropsies on them and do other type of scientific studies. So I also donated money to Cornell Animal Hospital to I think their ICU years ago. You just you make as much a difference as you can, and most of it is about an attitude, and you mentioned it earlier. It's
Yeah.
about paying back and paying forward, and when you think how fortunate people like how we are, if we don't do that, there's something seriously wrong with us.
I was out on tour the last couple of weeks, and somebody asked a question from the audience, and it was one of those like, and like, what did I feel my most important accomplishment or whatever it was, and what I said was, and this is the truth, I said, being married to my wife Sue. That's the best thing in my life. It's the most important thing, and it really is. My joke line about Sue is, if Sue ever leaves me, I'm going with her. Uh, but there's a lot of reality there, and that notion of kind of being with your best friend or a best friend, I think is huge. I think it's so important. And I think especially a lot of young people don't realize the importance of being able to talk to that person. And you don't have to, it can be a Republican and a Democrat. Then that's not the key. But you just can talk to that person and talk and talk and talk and talk. Any thoughts that you have? I mean, you've had an interesting history there in terms of, whatever, but any thoughts on love, friendship, how that works or doesn't work?
Well, I think that I've been very fortunate to have several people, that you meet in life that literally change your life. My first one being Billy Graham's wife, Ruth, who was like my adopted mother,
Mhm.
and Charlie Cornwell, who was my professor in college. And if I had not been with him in the very beginning, my life would have ended up on a different track, and I'll always be grateful for all the things that he did for me. And now with Stacy, my partner, I mean, I can imagine anybody that is as wonderful to be with. And I mean, you know what it
Isn't
is
that great?
yes, when you can say anything to your person,
Mhm.
like, I mean, things that your greatest doubts, like if you've had a bad day writing,
Yeah.
or somebody says something and it's really upsetting and you can't talk about it to anybody else, because you and I both know you have to be careful who you say things to, or next thing you know, you see it on the internet.
I know. Yeah.
And but it is that is it's you have a safe space where you don't feel alone. And
Mhm.
the two people try to make each other the best that they can be,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, it sounds like we are both lucky. We're lucky in all. I mean, that really is. I mean, to be able to have something that we love to do. I assume we both. I love to write. I don't work for a living. I play for a living, and have somebody in our lives that really, or a few people. I have a couple of friends that I feel that way about. We're just very fortunate, and I think I'm pretty good at looking at it and going like, yeah, I'm very lucky. Very lucky.
Well, I mean, Stacy, her very demanding, she's one of the world experts in cannabis research, for helping medicinal and all this.
Oh yeah,
You
you help
read
her
about
experiment with
group.
that? No, just kidding.
And and she and I mean, her career at Harvard Medical School and McLean Hospital, I mean, her career is really far more demanding than mine,
Mhm.
yet she always finds time be so supportive of my career, to help with everything. I mean, she can produce all the Zooms because she's technical wizard, and, I mean, I am always very, very grateful.
I had to get into New York at one point. I really needed to get in fast, and the plane was late. And we were in Teterboro, and so when I was coming in, I asked the PR, "Is there any way that we can get in?" And she said, "Well, you could go helicopter." I went, "Oh man, I don't know. I've never been in a." And the last time we had come in from Teterboro, it had taken like almost an hour and a half, and the helicopter was 6 minutes. It was like, wow. But so are you still flying helicopters or?
I have been. I mean, I haven't done it in about a year. It's getting a little more difficult because I don't own one anymore, and I always make the joke, it's not like you can pull it out of your garage and go take a spin. It's a big it's very involved, and, but now and then I go up, like, with an instructor and go spinning around, uh, but because I do enjoy it. It's been a big part of my life for, I guess, I got my license in 1999, but I've been, flying around in helicopters for almost my whole career. So
Uh-huh, uh-huh. I
and I
I didn't want to do it. It was not on my bucket list. I thought it might be the end of my bucket list, but I loved it. I loved it.
Isn't it it's the most wonderful feeling when you lift off and you're like a bird and you're seeing
Yeah, and
everything?
then, and then flying over New York City, because
Oh,
we had to
yes.
go to the East Side and, over these buildings and, it was very, very cool. Very cool. To get back to Sharp Force and just to, as I said, 29, and I think I've read all of them. But
Wow.
as you said, I mean, the other piece about it is you can read 29 first. That's okay. But I get, if you do read 29, go back and read 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, then get into that because people will do that. They're funny and they'll read all 29.
Well, that's what you hope for. You hope that people will fall in love with something, just like you fall in love with a television series and you get to where it's your comfort food. I mean, even if it's dramatic and suspenseful and violent, it's still your comfort food that you wanna watch, like The Sopranos, for example.
Uh-huh,
Stacey and I
uh-huh.
watch the runs of The Sopranos all the time when we run out of something else, 'cause, you never get tired of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have any TV series that you're hooked on now?
Well, let's see, we've just
Guilty
gotten through
pleasures?
a bunch of a number of I'm trying to think which ones. Well, for example, we love The Righteous Gemstones.
Uh-huh.
Like, that what a incredibly made thing. Hacks, of course.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that's very fun. She's so good. Such a good well, both of them are, but
Yeah, give me an example of something you've watched recently that you
Task.
really sorry, what?
Task on HBO Max.
Oh.
It's the same writer who did that Mare of Easttown.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good character building and da 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 da. And a weird one, Hightown.
I haven't okay.
Hightown on that's a weird one, but you have to kind of go with it a little bit, and then At any rate, all right. So, anything else? Is this your office in Boston?
Yes, this is
Okay.
my weird
Nice little
office.
skull in there. Yeah, perfect.
Well, it's my that well that glass skull is Dan Aykroyd's vodka called Crystal Head, but the
Oh,
skeleton
okay.
my very first office in Richmond that goes all the way back to the beginning of my career, I bought this building, and it had been a medical supply company, and the skeleton was in it, and when it came time for what conveyed with the building that I was gonna put my little headquarters in, I said the skeleton had to convey. So he's moved with me everywhere I've ever lived now. So, but there's a lot of stuff from the Jack the Ripper work I did, and back there that's a signed picture of Dickens, and that's Harriet Beecher Stowe, who's an ancestor of mine, and that's Agatha Christie, or Hemingway, and, some things that I
Uh-huh,
find
uh-huh, uh-huh,
inspiring to have around me.
uh-huh. No, that's cool. All right, so excellent.
Well, thank you,
Oh,
James.
thank you. This is great. Maybe at some point we'll get together, see each other in Boston or whatever. I get up
That'd
there
be
every once in a while.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Let
I
me
did
know. I'd
Mel
love to
Robbins last year, which was actually great. I don't know if you've run into her, Mel Robbins. She does Let Them, that book, which helps people out. If you get the chance, it's a great interview. She's just
cool.
wonderful to talk to.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. You're so wonderful to do that.
Thank you.
I know how
Yeah.
crazy
You
busy
don't need
you are.
with the new book, but everybody, go out and
Yes,
get
I
it.
do.
It's very, 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 very,
I
very.
need you for everything.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Hungry Dogs. Help me out by liking and subscribing to the show. We want to get these interviews out to as many people as we can. You can help a lot. If you like the interviews, your friends will like the interviews, so help. Also, drop me a comment with any ideas you have to make the Hungry Dog interviews better. I'm hungry to hear what you think. I love new ideas. Thank you, thank you, thank you.